divine beings. It's D, Apollo, Chi, they, them pronouns. Welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about the shadow, the good old shadow. And so before I begin, as always, I open up the space and I set the clear intention that I am a clear, pure channel of the highest love, the highest light, of the highest truth, with clarity, for the highest good of the collective today. As you exist in energetic space with me, that you receive the most juiciest of source, pure source energy, baby. I thank my spiritual team for helping me remain in energetic sovereignty so I can channel these messages from that clear, pure channel, baby. Ise. All right. The shadow. I don't know about y'all, but there's a lot of information out there about the shadow. But I want to provide some wisdom and knowledge as someone who has gone through the shadow, integrated my shadow, and maintains spiritual eyesight with my shadow. My shadow and I are one. Often in the spiritual healing communities, the shadow is talked about as the part of ourselves that we hide, push away because of shame, guilt, fear, parts of ourselves that we've had to ignore, subdue because of conditionings or learnings from the past that this part of aspect wasn't good enough or wasn't right. This is what colloquially known as the shadow. But here's the thing. Everyone has a shadow. And eventually you get to a point where you delve into the shadow in order to spiritually grow and evolve. One must heal, and part of healing is coming into harmony, perfect harmony within, in unity with Source. And as you heal these aspects of yourself, as you begin to reprogram and unlearn, you get to know your shadow, you get to integrate your shadow, and guess what? You still don't have a shadow. And so you get to a point where you've seen yourself so deeply because you did the work to go into the dark, to be with yourself, to see all of those parts of self that you didn't think were pretty, the ugly, the dark. And you get to meet it with love. From each and every part of ourselves, these shadow parts that they're colloquially known as, must be met with unconditional love, compassion, and acceptance. And acceptance doesn't mean that we necessarily keep certain parts. It just means that, like, okay, you're there. I see you. Okay, all right. I acknowledge you. All right, okay. Now what are we going to do with it? Is this part beneficial? How can I transmute this part into an ally? How can I transmute this part into a friend? How can I get to learn what this part, how this part, and why this part functions in my life, for my growth? And so eventually your shadow, if you think of it like in Peter Pan, when Peter Pan, his shadow was very, it was a trickster. It was always playing. It was always trying to run away. It was always trying to detach himself. And he was always running after his shadow. You get to a point where, from a dualistic perspective, that's what the world mainly operates from, this perspective that you have your light side, you have your shadow side. That as you fully integrate your shadow, there becomes no other parts that are unseen. You've seen all of it. You've seen all of the parts of yourself you have hidden away. You've seen all of the parts that have been buried beneath shame, guilt, and fear. You've seen all of the parts that you thought were wrong. And as you see them in the process of integrating them, you may begin to fight. You may feel like there is a war inside. This war between light and dark, but in fact there is no war. The process of integration, and that is a normal aspect. To come into harmony, one must be able to hold and be in balance with both sides. And you get to a point eventually where you've integrated your shadow completely. So then what does it become? If our society says our shadows are the parts that are hidden, and you've seen all that which has been hidden, is it still a shadow? Yes. And this is why I have started to use the word dark. Your dark side. And I don't say dark as negative. I remember when I first was learning about spirituality and remembering, I would often see people talk about the dark being bad and evil. And I always say, when you look at the day and you see the sun and you see the moon and you look at the nighttime, do you say the night is evil because it's dark? No. It is not inherently evil. It just is. And so as you process and integrate your shadow and you heal and you release, you get to a point where you transcend duality. You transcend this idea of light and dark, and you stay at it just is. When you arrive at this point of it just being is, then you know you have achieved perfect harmony. We as human beings exist in polarity. It is this polarity that gives us the opportunity to live this unique aspect of life that can only really be experienced in these physical vessels, in the 3D. Each one of us as souls chose to incarnate into these human vessels to experience the polarity in such a visceral, tangible way that it cannot be experienced in this way in higher dimensions. And it is through the polarity of these lives, of this human being, that we grow. We grow exponentially in ways, especially during this time period now, where the energy is so ripe for spiritual growth and development and personal development for those who are willing and ready to hear and follow and devote themselves to their soul call. And if you're listening to this, you are one of those people. Hello, light worker, earth angel, star seed, being, divine being that you are. And so eventually you get to a point and place of transcending polarity. And you get to a place of oneness. The understanding that light and dark just is. That the different polarities and others that you may experience, such as adult and child, feminine and masculine, just is. And because of a polarity, you may experience one side, you may experience other. It depends on what you are centered in. This is the importance of centering in unconditional love. One can only transcend if one is rooted in love. One can only come into perfect harmony if one is rooted in love. Unconditional love. One can only create that peace that you seek so desperately within yourself and in the world if you are rooted in true unconditional love, starting first with self. For it's the work that we do within ourselves inwardly that is then projected externally, as within, so without. And so, when it comes to your shadow, you must befriend your shadow. Because it is your shadow, actually, that holds your dark, that holds the feminine aspect of self. The feminine represents the void, it represents the womb, the dark matter of infinite possibilities, where from nothing all can be created. That is the feminine aspect, the dark feminine aspect. It's always coming back into relationship with the feminine, with their intuitiveness. The dark also represents within us the subconscious. Our subconscious, our subtle realms are represented by the depths of the ocean. Again, feminine energy. Represented by the moon. Again, feminine energy. Associated with magic, mystery, intuition, emotions, all feminine energy. It is from this place of darkness that we receive the illumination. It is being shown to me as, imagine being in the dark, and in the dark there are all of these color as in like iridescent color. And it is from this place of darkness, which is associated with, they're showing to me, the causal realm. The causal realm is the realm, you have the physical realm, the astral realm, and the causal realm, and then the causal source. And so the causal realm is the realm of thought. It is where ideas originate from. It is where thought originates from. It is that which is brought down into the astral, into the energetic, and then that is brought down into the physical. And so when you think about where your thoughts come from, it comes from seemingly nothingness, the dark of your mind. Thought forms are energy, y'all, so thoughts actually travel. But that's just a very simplified way of understanding thought and helping you to begin to conceptualize this interplay between the shadow and the dark. And so when you transcend this idea of your shadow being what's been hidden or pushed away or rejected, and you've seen it all, you've accepted, you've not pushed, you stopped pushing, then you are left with your dark. That is now harmonizing with your light to such an extent that there becomes a meeting point between the two where you are now existing on a spectrum. Everything exists on a spectrum of polarity. That is the law of polarity, energetically. And it just is, as you say, rooted in unity and the understanding of the oneness of all. Is there anything else to channel regarding this? One more thing. Give me a second. So I've mentioned this on TikTok, I believe. What came up was fun. And so the vast majority of people, when it comes to your shadows, your inner child is there. Your inner child is in your shadow. Wearing a mask, and everybody has a different flavor of the inner child archetype within them, so I'm not going to get into that. But that is one of the most important aspects of self. Because when you take your inner child out of the shadows, you are then able to bring it into 0 point. 0 point is the point of balance between all that is. It is the point of center between polarity. And when that child is in the 0 point energy, then it begins to be able to, can you help me find the words here? To be expressed from a neutral perspective. And then that too becomes integrated within ourselves, where there is no longer a child, your child self and your adult self. There just is. It is why many spiritual masters have this very joyous, happy, childlike expression, and are also very wise and can be serious. Most of the time, though, they're like kids. They're like kids. Because that is the truth, that we are all children. There is a part of us that never grows up, but we are also adults. And so it allows one to just be in the wholeness of the experience, being able to hold both, which allows one to be able to access fun, joy, play, from a place of neutrality. Neutrality doesn't mean you don't care. Neutrality is simply isness. It is the I am from balance and counterpoint. So that was what I wanted to bring forth as we move into this earth, this new earth. The frequencies of play, of joy, of fun, of flow, honestly, are crucial. It is crucial for you to tap into the truth of your, not just passion, but what that child wanted to do, knowing that that thing is in alignment with your highest self and lower self. The lower self being the ego. That there exists a center point where the inner child, the higher self, and the lower self exist in Trinity. Remember, 3 is a very key number of creation. And when these 3 parts of self meet, the circle within, the center point that exists within these 3 in triangle, Trinity, is that which you are meant to uniquely create within this world. And this comes from understanding first your shadow, transmuting it into your dark, transcending the idea of dark and light in of itself to come into harmony and isness. So I'll stop there, and I hope that gives a breakdown between my understanding of shadow and dark, and that these are all neutral terms to me. Dark isn't inherently bad. Shadow isn't inherently hidden. Yeah, I will stop there. I like to share a story, but I will do that on another post. So, I close off this space, thanking my spiritual team for helping me remain in energetic integrity and sovereignty. I invite you to take 3 deep breaths with me. Deep, deep, deep belly breaths. Out to the mouth. Into the stomach breath. Stomach breath. I messed up. Deep belly breaths. Out to the mouth. Once more. Out to the mouth. Whenever you are. I don't take it for granted. Thank you. Thank you for showing up for yourself, most importantly, for listening, for being a part of the community. Take care. I love you. Peace.